So much has happened over the past several weeks, and we need to discuss it fairly quickly. This will be a short one, but I promise you, you'll understand exactly where I'm taking you. Stay tuned. Well, howdy, folks. Dave Man here again, Rollman Revolution. To piggyback off of my last video, which I was pretty hard on the current administration because of the forever wars that this nation has been involved in over my lifetime, and the constant direction for which this world keeps wanting to take itself. It's like the loosh factory is completely open, and the only way this loosh factory continues to operate is by more wars. Now, the world we live in today doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people, and the reasons why is because when you have sociopaths, for the most part, leading you, it takes things in these directions that make no sense to the average, everyday, common, working person. Why? Because most of us don't live in that space. Our lives are mostly centered around, got to get up, go to work, put my clothes on, and then redo that process all over again every single day. So you can't be bothered with the nonsense of world wars and all. It's like, how did it get here? How does all of this stuff get to where it is? Now, if you listen to my last video, I was very, very tough on President Trump, this administration, and this green light almost overnight to go into a war with Israel to fight Iran and destroy their nuclear capability. But as everything happens within this Trump administration, what is presented a lot of times out front, and because the media just has a tendency to run with whatever story they want to try to push public opinion in a specific direction. Nope, Donald Trump took basically what it was that the threat assessment he had in his hand, and he neutralized that threat and said, all right, now we're done. So what we did is we went in there, took care of the problem that was addressed by Bibi Netanyahu and other experts saying that this is the reasons why we have to go, this is the reasons why it's imminent. Well, Trump said, okay, and this is where I disagreed with him because I was like, okay, we're just going to jump on the grenade and do this. Well, Israel kind of pushed the hand of America. Allies are not supposed to do that. If you're an ally, you don't get your other friends mixed up in your own personal affairs and purposely try to drag them in to a conflict that you had nothing to do with. Now, many people would say, well, Iran has been an enemy of the United States, and Iran or Israel and the United States are kind of one and the same. Well, maybe we are. We maybe have similar interests. However, we all don't go around the world poking the bear in every single area and expect the other team to clean up the mess. See, that's been the problem with our foreign affairs policy here in the United States, is that anytime some of these foreign actors make decisions, America and a lot of their leadership just jump on the bandwagon almost overnight to say, yeah, we're going to do this or we're going to support this. And it's like, wait a minute. When did we have the debate or conversation? When are we actually going to talk about the reasons as to how we got here in the first place? And if you notice, that's not what the media wants to do, especially Fox News. They just want to push and push and push for more endless wars. Why? Because war is always good for business. War has always been good for business. It makes the people who in the leadership positions put more money in their pocket. The research and development, more money in the pockets. The bombs, the bullets, and the boots, more money in their pocket. And guess who ends up paying for it? You and I do. And guess who ends up having to fight in these wars? You and I do. You know, there would be no wars if they had to be fought by the assholes who start them. Plain and simple. But as you can see, Trump is, we got in, we got off, and we got out. That is exactly what you should be doing to solve problems. We're not lingering around for the next 20 years. And that's kind of where I lost the sight there. And I'm the first one to admit when I'm wrong about something, okay? From the presentation that was being addressed to the American people by Fox and many of the others, even the people in the podcast world, there were many people who were saying that this is an eminent thing, that we must do this. And a lot of a small subsection of MAGA We're basically saying, well, wait a minute, that's not what anybody voted for. We don't want these endless wars. That's not how we make America great again. You can't make America great when you're fighting and spending billions of dollars overseas in a war that has absolutely nothing to do with the interest of the country you belong to. So what President Trump did, and again, I'll get off my soapbox here real soon because I said I was going to try to steer back away from the politics a little bit more, but unfortunately you can't take the politics out of this guy. Unfortunately, I live it because I address lies. I cannot stand when somebody flat out looks into your face and lies to you. And that's what our intelligence apparatus and majority of the people who lead us do on a regular basis. So I feel almost obligated to expose that nonsense in real time and call the people out for the idiots, liars, and manipulators that they are. So that's what pulls me back in on a regular basis to this topic. But as you can see, what President Trump did in that small, short window, and like I said, I will get off my soapbox, is that he went in, he took care of the problem that was addressed by Bibi and those other officials, and then said, all right, we're done. They have no more nuclear capability. That's what you said what the problem was. We're not going in there for regime change. If that's what you want to do, Israel, if you want to go in, and all of the neocons here in the United States want to go in and do regime change, you're on your own. You are on your own. But, as I warned you, if you're going to go do that, don't expect America to keep cleaning up the mess. That's not the responsibility of our American citizens. Yes, we can support and have allies in regions, but the allies' job is not to poke the bear and get America involved in their business. That's not how it works. And Bibi should have known better than that. And that's what pissed President Trump off completely, because he's doing all of this stuff while he's trying to deal with problems here on our own soil. You got millions of illegals crossing the border. You got LA that basically has gone almost on its own little thing. You got a confederacy breaking away, doing whatever they want. You got people in that state going directly against presidential actions. And it's like, what are we doing? Yet we're going to fight a war in a foreign country. No, 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 no. The guys like Levin, Mark Levin and Sean Hannity, they keep pushing this crap on Fox News, need to shut their pie hole. It's over, guys. Mr. Levin, Tel Aviv Levin, you need to shut it down. You keep screaming on the top of your lungs, I'm America, America, oh my God, this is what President Trump is doing. I mean, if you listen to this guy, he just won't shut up. Why? Because all he wants is an endless war. That's what his job is to do, is to promote this endless war. You gotta remember, Mark Levin was not a Trump supporter. He was a never-Trumper. He was pro DeSantis, he was pro anything but Trump. Now all of a sudden, when Trump was slightly getting engaged into this war idea, right, and said that he was gonna go neutralize the situation, all of a sudden you see these guys, they just jump on. The warmongers just jump on. If we don't come back to a honest, and this all comes down to, and I'm going to wrap this all around something even better here in the next couple days, but this all wraps around to the honesty and integrity we have in our human individuals, and you and me, okay? These people up here have no integrity. They literally are shells of who they really are. What they present to you is not exactly what they really are. And you want to know why your country is all over the place. We can't get budgets passed. We can't make quick decisions about anything. Why? Because you have all of this crazy thinking going on. Most of America doesn't even live there. We live in the middle. We're not Republicans. We're not Democrats. We're just people trying to get from one day to the next. But as you can see, all of this theatrics, all of the drama, the big drama that's being played out, and that's truly what this is. It's a drama. This shit could stop overnight, everybody. It really could stop overnight, but it won't, because you have everyone in these sectors looking out for themselves and the interests of the people they represent. Not you, not me. That's not what these people represent. So when you see actual leadership doing things to put this nation first, you can see the retaliation. These people are now becoming exposed, even in the media. The ones that you thought were on your side, the ones that you thought were, fair and balanced or right on the middle line. They're exposing themselves in real time because they can't stop salivating over trying to destroy another nation. The lies and divide. Well, the only way you and I will ever see positivity in a world is if that crap stops. You have to stop broadcasting bullshit. Now, we all know this, and it all seems, yeah, Dave, yeah, we all know that. If we can get rid of all the lies, but that's never going to happen. It starts with you and me. See, if we don't hold people accountable, if we don't call people out to their face and say, hey, look, you're a lying sack of shit, and this is why, people will continue to keep doing it. But as you can see, when upper leadership, people who have a large following, finally grab their balls and speak out against people who they know may actually have a little bit of a following, and of course they may know that they may get backlash for it, that's where real bravery and courage comes from, is when you address something that we all see right here in the room. But so many people just want to avoid it. They put their blinders on. Oh, I can't say that because if I say that, I'm going to get elected again. I'm not going to get the political backing that I have again. These people are so worried about getting reelected every single time that they forget about you and me and what the fuck they're doing in the first place. It bothers me because I know, as a regular, everyday human being, could do 100 times better job than what we have. The world changes when we change, okay? And the only way that's going to get any better is if we start thinking about those things. Now, pulling away from that grand opening, I had to set the record straight because my previous video did beat the hell out of Trump a little bit, but he actually kept his promise. To the MAGA people that were against him because of this war, he kept his promise. He got in, he got off, he got out, and it's over. He says, I'm done talking about it. That's exactly what we need. Now, granted, I wasn't a big fan of dropping bombs, but at the same time, token, minimal casualties, the targets were met, the package was delivered, and we're done. It's over with. That's how a war should be. That's how, not even a war, that's how we should stop. Trump just said, hey, look, this is the problem, this is the solution. Bing, bang, boom, done, over with. Now we're moving on to America First issues. And that's what I really want to talk about. The stuff happening right here. So as many know, the reason why I got on this shtick in the first place is because 2 years ago, my wife of 8 years was taken from me basically in the middle of the night. I had no idea. She had no idea. Fentanyl is one of the silent killers of this world. It's the one thing that if it happens to you, and if you're a person who is a victim of this, a family member, or if you know somebody, your wife, your brother, your somebody, it's one of the worst feelings you can have in the world because there is no closure. You don't even, it's like somebody was ripped out from you while you're just standing there. The last vision I had of my wife was trying to perform CPR to her dead corpse. Now, I don't know if you ever had to experience something like that, but when you are standing there looking at the person that you love and you're trying to bring them back from something that you had nothing to do with and she had nothing to do with, and there's nothing you can do. That helpless feeling is something that I would never wish upon my worst enemy, but at the same time, nobody seems to be doing anything about this. Nobody seems to care that those issues are real issues for a lot of people, and if we don't start taking care of the things here, it doesn't matter. My wife was a victim of these opium wars. The Chinese Communist Party, which is the greatest threat right now, nobody seems to be talking about that. We have cartels and illegal drug dealers scattered throughout the United States under the Biden administration, and you have a court system and a leadership crew that are crying bloody murder to get these people out of here, in which they know they don't belong. Now, why would you think that these people would want to keep these illegal people here? Because that's their support system. The only reason that these people are here in the first place is because these people have allowed it. They're paid big money, good money, to look the other way, to allow these cartels to come in here and destroy this nation. Integrity, lies, manipulation, all of that stuff. If we don't get this right, and if we don't start making this the primary responsibility, like we don't start holding our leadership accountable, I mean really accountable. People like Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, just for the crimes that we know about, the investigations don't even seem to be, nobody's interested. DOJ's not interested in all of the crap that went on for the 4 years of COVID. All of the crap that went on during the Obama administration with the crossfire. Nobody is arrested. Nobody is held accountable. And you wonder why nothing ever changes here in this world. You have this feckless Department of Justice that, yeah, I know she's busy, but if you don't start indicting people and start laying the hammer down, this is going to continue. It's going to keep going on. It will not stop, Pam. It will not stop, Cash. Now, I know you guys are in over your head, way in over your head. You guys got into those departments, Department of Justice, FBI, you got into them. And then you realize, whoa, even the FBI or the secretary who's in charge of this thing has no control over this apparatus. How could you? When these institutions get as large as they do, you honestly think the people that are in there all have somebody to be accountable to? Maybe there is a chain of command but there are too many. And we've seen this decades and decades. People getting away with crimes. People in government covering up the crimes for those people who commit crimes. And this goes all the way up to the level of the President of the United States. And yet, everybody else is just saying, why are there no indictments? Why is nobody ever held accountable? For Christ's sakes, we still can't get the JFK files. And do you know why? Because there's something in those files that directly links something really big that America is not allowed to know about. The outside influence that literally controls this nation. The amount of money that has been shoved up the ass of all of your representatives, which basically controls the way that they think. If you knew the amount of outside influence that controls these people, you would say, hell no. Hell no. If you knew that your representative or your congressman or governor was taking large bribes from special interest or outside influence and then making their decisions based upon the money that they're being given, you would say they are compromised, correct? I think we all would. But yet, the reaction of the people within those communities, it's no big deal. It's like, I can't be bothered with it. But at the same time, people are going around every day bitching and complaining about how shitty everything is, but they are not willing to do anything to make it change. Action is the only way this world changes. Action is what creates the world and the way that it turns, the way that it moves. But if we are just going to sit idly by and allow the representation that we have and the shit that has been being built over the last 75, 80 years in this country, since the inception of the Federal, more than that, since the inception of the Federal Reserve, you can see over the course of time, if you are willing to go back and look at, like I said at the beginning of this, how we got here in the first place, how we got to the point we are right now, and start looking at each individual decision and show how that created the fork in the road that drove us in this direction or that direction. Once you see how this goes, you find the common denominator. And the common denominator has always been the same. Outside influence, and when you have private entity groups controlling or meddling in the affairs of the government of the United States, do you honestly think that those private groups actually give a shit who is leading this nation? They don't. And you know why? Because they can push money in whatever direction they want to set up a drama, a play, a game, to try to paint a picture however they want. And they have been doing this for decades now, which has caused the greatest confusion we have in our world today. There is so much bullshit painted into the streets or on the walls or in our classrooms. There's so much of it to go around. Nobody really knows what's going on, truly knows what's going on. We have to rely on the information coming from downstream, and we know where that information originates and what happens to it as it gets finally to the public. It goes through all of these transitions. So let's say a guy on the field out in the middle of nowhere who's actually living in the problem reports back to the station. By the time the station gets it to the media or to the American people, it has been chop blocked and resituated so many different times that the story isn't even accurate to what it originally was in the first place. If we don't get back to speaking in truth, just plain old truth, and I know this sounds ridiculous, it's not going to matter. All right, my friends, I got to take a phone call. I'll talk with you soon. The next video, I promise, it's going to be all about the human person. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.